All right. Well, let's see if the theme music got up on the air this time. Um, Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the program. Welcome to Children of the Sun for Friday, May 3rd, first Friday in May. That means it's Teacher Appreciation Day. So, welcome to all the teachers. Welcome to all the learners, all the students, teachers, and learners. Everyone teaches, everyone learns. Everyone's a teacher, everyone's a student here on Children of the Sun. All right, we're back. A little technical difficulty there. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Children of the Sun, show dedicated to positive energy from a fifth dimensional point of view. This is our show for Friday, May 3rd, 2024. Welcome to Christiansted, Frederickstead, Kings Hill, why not? St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island, why not? And welcome to the world, because we are streaming live over Facebook, and you can get us later on YouTube and Spotify. I think I'm just going to get straight to the program now. We are reading The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith. And we've been dipping into this book for a couple of weeks now. And we are joining the book in progress. This week we are on Supply, Part 1. Of Joel Goldsmith's Infinite Way. And we'll just start right now. The secret of supply is to be found in the 12th chapter of Luke. And he said unto his disciples, Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body what ye shall put on. The life is more than meat, and the body more than raiment. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barn, and God feedeth them. How much more are ye better than the fowls? And which of you, with taking thought, can add to his stature 1 cubit? If ye then be not able to do that thing which is least, why take thought for the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothe the grass, which is today in the field, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after. And your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Close quote. Continuing. The question now arises, how is it possible to take no thought for money when pressing obligations must be met? How can we trust God when year in and year out these financial problems confront us, and usually through no fault of our own? We have seen in these passages from Luke that the way to solve our difficulties is to take no thought for supply, whether of money, food, clothing, or any other form. And the reason that we need have no anxiety about these things is, quote, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, close quote, because he, quote, knoweth that ye have need of these things, close quote. In order that we may enter wholly into the spirit of confidence of this inspired message of Scripture, we must understand that money is not supply, but is the result or effect of supply. There is no such thing as a supply of money, clothes, homes, automobiles, or food. All these constitute the effect of supply. And if this infinite supply were not present within you, there would never be the added things in your experience. The added things, of course, are those practical things like money, food, and clothing that are so necessary at this stage of our existence. Since money is not supply, what is? Let us digress for a moment and look at the orange tree, which is laden with fruit. We know that the oranges do not constitute supply because when these have been eaten or sold or given away, a new crop starts at once to grow. The oranges are gone, but the supply remains because within that tree there is a law in operation. Call it a law of God or a law of nature. The name of the law is not too important, but the recognition of the presence of a law operating in, through, or as the tree is important. That law operates to draw in through the roots minerals, substances, elements of air, water, and sunshine, which it then transforms into sap that is drawn up through the trunk of the tree and distributed through the branches and finally sent into expression as blossoms. In due time, this law transforms the blossoms into a green marble, and this becomes the full-grown orange. The orange is the result or effect of the operation of the law acting in, through, and as the orange tree. As long as this law is present, we will have oranges. The orange of itself cannot produce another orange. Thus, we understand that the law is the supply, and the oranges are the fruits, the results or effect of the law. Within you and within me, there is also a law in operation, a law of life, and our awareness of the presence of this law is our supply. Money and the things necessary for our daily living are the effects of the consciousness of the activity of the law within. This understanding enables us to take thought off the things of the outer world and abide in the consciousness of the law. What is the law which is our supply? The universal or divine consciousness, your individual consciousness, is the law. This law actually is your consciousness. Thus, your consciousness becomes the law of supply unto you, producing its own image and likeness in the form of those things necessary to your well-being. As there is no limitation to your consciousness, there is no limit to your conscious awareness of the action of the law, and therefore no limit to your supply in all its forms. The divine or universal consciousness, your individual consciousness, is spiritual. The activity of this law within you is likewise spiritual, and therefore your supply in all forms is spiritual, infinite, and ever-present. What we behold as money, food, and clothing, automobiles, and homes represents our concepts of these ideas. Our concepts are as infinite as our mind. Let us agree now to see that just as we need take no thought for oranges as long as we have the source or supply, which is continually producing fruit for us, so we need no longer take thought about dollars. Let us learn to think of dollars as we do of leaves on a tree or oranges, as the natural and inevitable result of the law active within. There is truly no need to be concerned even when the trees appear to be bare, as long as we are conscious of the truth that the law is even now operating within to bring forth fruit after its own kind. Regardless of the state of our finances at any given moment, let us not be concerned or worried, because we now know that the law acting in, through, and as our consciousness is at work within us when we are asleep as well as when we are awake, to provide all those added things. Let us learn to look at the lilies and rejoice at the proof of the presence of God's love for his creation. Let us watch the sparrows and note how confidently they trust this law. Let us rejoice when we see the flowers in spring and summer, because they assure us of the divine presence. As we learn to enjoy the beauties and bounties of nature with no desire to hoard any of them, with no fear that there is less than an infinite supply of them, so we learn to enjoy the fruitage of our infinite supply, the results of that infinite storehouse within us, with no fear of any lack to plague us. Enjoy these things of the outer realm, but do not consider them as supply. Our conscious awareness of the presence and activity of the law is our consciousness of supply, and the outer things are the forms as which our consciousness expresses. The inner supply appears as the necessary outer things. Part 2. We say in one breath that we should take no thought for our supply, our health. And in the next breath, we say that we must pray without ceasing, quote unquote. And, quote, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, close quote. Though seeming to be contradictory, both admonitions are correct, but they have to be understood. There is always a belief of human good in operation, a law of averages, and from this we derive our material benefit. In house-to-house selling, there's usually an average of one sale out of 20 calls. In advertising through circulars, there is an average return of about 2%. In automobile driving, it is claimed that a certain percentage of accidents is the rule. Life insurance companies have a table of life expectancy, and from their averages, they can tell you at any time approximately how many years you will continue to live. To live humanly, that is, to go along from day to day, letting these averages affect you, letting human beliefs operate upon you, is not scientific living. This is all part of the belief of human existence. And unless you do something specific about it, you bring yourself under these so-called economic or health laws. These suggestions, which actually are but beliefs, are so universal as to become mesmeric in their operation. And they tend to act upon those who are not alert, bringing forth limitation. So by suggestions, he does not mean recommendations. He means like a hypnotic suggestion. And this is an old book, so he's referring to hypnotism as mesmerism. The Dr. Mesmer, the French physician who first started practicing hypnotism. So I'll kind of do the sentence over again and update it to modern terms. These hypnotic suggestions, which actually are only beliefs, are so universal as to become hypnotic in their operation, and they tend to act upon those who are not alert, bringing forth limitation. What must we do to keep ourselves free of these suggestions? so that we can live above them. First, we must live on a higher plane of consciousness. Insofar as possible, we must train ourselves to know that anything that exists in the realm of effect is not cause, is not creative, and has no power over us. This brings up the important point in spiritual wisdom that I am the law, I am truth, I am life eternal. Since I am infinite consciousness, and since I am the law, then nothing in the external can act upon me and be law unto me. There is nothing from which we can suffer but the acceptance of illusion as reality. There is nothing from which we can suffer but the acceptance of illusion as reality. These things called sin and disease are not what we are suffering from. They are the forms the one error assumes. Regardless of the name we use, they are hypnotism, suggestions, illusion, appearing as person, place, or thing, appearing as sin, disease, lack, and limitation. We must not live as though we were effect with something operating upon us. Let us remember to live as the law, as the principle of our being. We can take possession of our affairs only as we consciously realize that they are the effect of our own consciousness, the image and the likeness of our own being, the manifestation or expression of our divine self. Then alone can we be a law unto them. We must begin our days with the inner reminder of our true identity. We must identify ourselves as spirit, as principle, as the law of life unto our affairs. It is a very necessary thing to remember that we have no needs. We are infinite, individual spiritual consciousness embodying within ourselves the infinity of good, and therefore we are at that center, that point of God consciousness, which can feed 5,000 any day and every day, not by using our bank account, but by using the infinity of good pouring through us the same as it poured through Jesus. We do not meet people with the idea of what we can get or what they can do for us, but we go out into life as the presence of God. During the day, whether doing housework, driving a car, selling, or buying, we must consciously remember that we are the law unto our universe. And that means that we are a law of love unto all with whom we come in contact. We should consciously remember that all who come within our range of our thought and activity must be blessed by the contact because we are a law of love. We are the light of the world. We should consciously remember that we do not need anything because we are the law of supply in action. We can feed 5,000 of those who do not yet know their identity. There is a belief of separation between us and God, our good. And this we correct by realizing I and my Father are one. All that the Father has is mine. The place whereon I stand is holy ground. In recognition of the infinity of our being, we realize the truth of the Bible. We realize the truth of these promises. They are no longer quotations, but statements of fact. And that brings us to the point of demarcation between knowing the truth and taking no thought. We are realizing truth now as an established truth within our own consciousness, the truth of our being. We are not taking thought to make any good come to us. We are not giving ourselves a treatment to make something happen to us, but we are realizing the truth, knowing the truth of our own identity, of our oneness with the infinite, with our infinite capacities. The reason for realizing and knowing this truth is that through the ages we have come to be known as man, as something other than God being. And unless we now consciously and daily remind ourselves of the true nature of our being, we will come under the general belief that we are something separate and apart from God. There is a belief that we are separate from some people who are really a part of our completeness, a belief that we are separate or apart from certain spiritual ideas necessary to our fulfillment, which may appear as person, papers, home, companionship, opportunity. This belief of separation we correct by realizing that our oneness with God constitutes our oneness with every idea. Illustrative of this is the telephone. Through my telephone, I can reach any other telephone, any place in the world, but I cannot reach even my next door neighbor by telephone without first going through the central station. Then, by establishing my oneness with Central, I am one with every telephone. In the realization of our oneness with God, infinite principle, love, we find and manifest our oneness with every idea necessary to the unfoldment of our completeness. Never forget that you cannot live scientifically as man or idea, but that you must realize yourself to be life, truth, and love. You must accept Jesus's revelation of I am until it becomes realization with you. Stop trying to apply truth. Attempting to apply truth is the action of the human thought. Truth is infinite. Therefore, there is nothing to which you can apply truth. It is the reality of being, and there is nothing inside or outside for truth to act upon. Truth is self-acting and self-operative. We are all engaged in activities through which our supply appears to come. Regardless of whether it is business, a profession, or an art, it is an activity of consciousness. So regarded, our activity is intelligently and lovingly directed and sustained. It is even more than this. As an emanation of consciousness, it is consciousness itself, individually appearing and expressing its own being, nature, and character. The government is upon its shoulder, and consciousness alone is responsible. We learn to let go, let God, consciousness, assume its responsibilities. In the Bible, we read of the trials and tribulations of Elijah. As we follow him through the 18th chapter of 1 Kings, we must understand that only the consciousness of the presence of Spirit, God, within him, could have done these mighty works. No human power could have accomplished them. In the 19th chapter, we find discouragement creeping in at what appears as the failure of Elijah's ministry. Actually, this was an opportunity for Elijah to prove that the power was not that of a human being, but actually God power appearing as a man, God appearing as individual being. The food prepared for Elijah under the juniper tree is his own awareness of the presence of God appearing in tangible form. We are led in this 19th chapter of 1 Kings to that great message in the 18th verse, quote, "Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed him," close quote. You note here that God has not saved out 7,000 for Elijah, but for himself, for God appearing as Elijah. Whatever our work may be, in business, in a profession, or as an artist, God, the consciousness of the individual, always has kept 7,000, symbolic for completeness, for himself. And we learn to listen for that still small voice which spoke to Elijah. And as we learn to listen for that still small voice which spoke to Elijah, we too will be led to our work, and recognition and compensation are to be found. We exist as individual consciousness. Therefore, all that is necessary to our fulfillment is included in the infinite consciousness which we are. In an individual way, God is expressing itself as you, and your ability is really the ability of God. Your activity is actually the activity of consciousness, life, and therefore the responsibility for you is God's responsibility. Gain this consciousness of God's presence, and you have the whole secret of success in every walk of life. As individual spiritual consciousness, there are 7,000 as fulfillment prepared for you. That is, God, the consciousness of the individual, the consciousness of you, has given you your individual abilities and capacities, and likewise has given you the opportunity and the rewards. These appear to fit every situation. Always remember that God, your individual consciousness, has prepared for you all that is necessary for the fulfillment of your individual experience. You are never outside the harmony of God's being. Cultivate the awareness of the presence of God every moment. It is our conscious union with God which enables us to live without taking thought and makes possible a life of complete abundance by grace. There is an invisible bond between all of us. We are not on earth to get from one another, but to share the spiritual treasures which are of God. Our interest in each other is, in truth, purely spiritual. Our purpose in life is the unfolding of the spirit within. From the height of spiritual vision, we do not look upon each other as man or woman, as rich or poor, as great or humble. All human values are submerged in our common interest to seek and to find the kingdom within. We see each other as travelers on the path of light. We share our unfoldments, our experiences, and our spiritual resources. We would not withhold any of these from each other. Likewise, there is no envy or jealousy of each other's spiritual attainments. Let us even for a moment realize that whatever we possess of supply, position, prestige, or power, health, beauty, or wealth is the gift of God and therefore equally available to all of us in the measure of your openness of consciousness. And you understand how we can carry our impersonal love out into the human world. Let us once catch the vision that whatever anyone possesses, even of what appears as material good, is but the expression of his state of consciousness, and it would be impossible to envy another's possessions or even to desire them. The first step in living by grace, living in universal peace, must begin with the understanding that all anyone has is of the Father. That is, all that anyone possesses and all that anyone can ever own is the outpouring of his own infinite consciousness. We are all joint heirs with Christ in God. Therefore, we all draw upon the resources of our own infinite consciousness and soul, and we need not labor, strive, or struggle for that which is already divinely ours. All that anyone possesses at any time, even of what seems to be of human value, is the unfoldment of his own state of consciousness, and therefore belongs only to the possessor. That which we have is the result of the fruitage of our own state of consciousness, and what we have not yet achieved is our own lack of conscious union with God, our infinite consciousness. We can have as much of everything as we desire by enlarging the borders of our understanding and realization. Nothing that we can get from another would ever really be ours, even if we received it legally. It would still belong only to the one with the consciousness of it. What is ours is eternally ours, but ours only because it is our state of consciousness in expression. All that the Father, my very own infinite consciousness, has is mine. The realization of this truth would enable all men to live together in one world harmoniously, joyously, successfully, without fear of one another and without greed, envy, or lust. We would be back in the Garden of Eden. We would live without taking thought, which is by grace. This would constitute the recognition of life as the gift of God, as the free flow of our consciousness. It would reveal the invisible spiritual tie which binds us in an eternal brotherhood of love. It would forever solve the problem of supply and thereby establish the reign of peace on earth. Wisdoms of the infinite way. Begin your spiritual life with the understanding that all conflicts must be settled within your consciousness. There is never a conflict with a person or condition, but rather a false concept mentally entertained about person, thing, circumstance, or condition. Therefore, make the correction within yourself rather than attempting to change anyone or anything in the without. Acknowledge God as the substance, law, cause, and activity of all that is, and immediately refrain from meddling physically or mentally in the without. Get back inside yourself and there resolve all appearances. When living out from the center of being, you are untouched by the thoughts, opinions, laws, and theories of the world. Nothing acts upon you because you do not react to the world of appearances. In the spiritual life, you place no labels on the world. You do not judge as to good, evil, sick or well, rich or poor. While appearances may show forth harmony or discord, by not judging, you merely know is, and let that which truly is define itself. To live spiritually is to know that all is. Then do not name, label, define, or judge what is. Be content to know is, and let what is reveal its being, nature, and character to you. Prayer is the inner vision of harmony. This vision is attained by giving up the desire to change or improve anyone or anything. Never seek anything or any condition in prayer. Let harmony define and reveal itself. Let your prayer be letting the is appear. Prayer is an awareness of that which is by seeing it, not making it so. To pray is to become aware of the harmony without a mental effort on your part. Prayer is the absence of desire in the recognition of is. Spiritual wisdom reveals the deep, clear, cool well of contentment within you through your recognition of is. Be sure that your prayer is not an attempt to influence God. Be sure that your prayer is not a desire to improve God's universe. Be at peace. God is. Rest in the deep, clear well of contentment within you. Peace already is. Have no desires in the world. Let God's grace suffice. There are no powers of evil external to yourself. Discords have no external existence. Resolve them within your own consciousness. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? There is an insight in man that visions through all appearances. Be at peace. Daniel's vision revealed the 4 temporal kingdoms destroyed by a stone cut out of the mountain without hand. As you see this stone being cut out of the mountain without hands, you will observe that this stone is the Word. Consciousness, awareness of is the stone which overcomes, without might or power, but by the grace of is. Be at peace. Is alone overcomes the world. The cool, clear water of the well of contentment within refreshes you with the assurance that joy already is. Peace, be still. Take your discords into the well of contentment, wash them, and behold the grace of God. My peace I give unto you. Be not dismayed. It is I. There are no limitations external to yourself. Be free. Be content with that which is. Abide in the deep well of contentment. I am. It is. If you could discover some form of prayer, meditation, or thought that heals, enriches, or blesses, you would have, in effect, become God. Impossible. Only God is God. If you could find something or some thought to which to cling, even then an effect would be God. Impossible. It is impossible to realize God as long as one has in mind a purpose or object other than realizing God. It is impossible to realize God as long as you have in mind a purpose or object other than realizing God. It is impossible to achieve anything through God as long as one has a desire to achieve it. God is a jealous God. Do not seek in the realm of thought or thing for God. Do not seek in the realm of thought or thing for God. Anything that can be known is effect, never God. Cease trying. Men, judging by human standards, complain that prayer is not answered. To benefit by prayer, it is necessary to give up all personal concepts of good. Do not try to fit answered prayer into the mold of human desire. Truth is infinite. Therefore, truth cannot be known in finite terms. Go to God as an empty vessel, desiring fulfillment in God's way and measure. God is not in the human scene. If you were aware of the significance of this statement, you could lay down your life and pick it up again at will. Life is not at the mercy of matter. God is not power. When you reach the center of consciousness, you find a complete stillness, a deep well of silence. It is not power, since there is nothing for it to be a power to or over. It just is. Gaining an awareness of God does not produce harmony. God's presence is the harmony. The only error is the sense of God's absence. The awareness of God does not dispel error. God itself is the only harmony. No one can reveal God to another, but by revealing the nature of prayer, we place him in a position to receive the God experience. The God experience can come only through the correct understanding of prayer, since prayer is the point of contact with God. Prayer is the avenue of awareness of God. Prayer is the preparation of consciousness for the God experience. Seeking guidance from God at this stage of your unfoldment will set up a sense of separation from God. It gives a sense of God and someone needing help, direction, or wisdom. Actually, you need to let God be your life. Then it lives, acts, performs, and is your very being. In our beginning days of meditation, we pondered or contemplated God, the qualities and nature of God as we understood him. As we rose higher in consciousness, we learned that any idea of God that we could entertain was not God himself, but was only a concept of God. Thus we entered the stillness of mind, leading to the deep silence of my peace, and experienced God. In our student days, we sought God or truth as a means to health, peace, security, safety, and harmony. Now we know that these are not to be found outside of him, and that the experience of God is our only desire. Now we have risen above the desire for health or anything save him alone. All must rise above the desire for peace, health, joy, and abundance. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God. Seeking the objects of good, such as pleasures, things, and places, for the joy of them is a barrier to spiritual unfoldment. Seeking only the realization of God, pleasures, things, and places of joy naturally come into our experience. Then our pleasure is greater in the realization of their source. Words and thoughts in prayer are helpful as long as they lead up to the atmosphere of the true communion, which is without words and thoughts. When words and thoughts alone constitute prayer, they become a barrier to the attainment of God awareness. Do not be misled. Here is the secret. Fill your consciousness with the Word of God. Hear it, read it, ponder it, meditate upon it. This enriches and ripens consciousness, and this deeper, pure consciousness now becomes the cause, law, substance, and activity of your existence. This nobler consciousness, which has evolved through study, practice, and meditation, attains the conscious communion with God and reaches through to the deep silence of my peace. Then you are lifted into a realm of atmosphere transcending words and thoughts. The mere reading of truth is only an acquisition of knowledge, not a deepening and enriching of consciousness. It is the deepened and enriched consciousness, which is the Christ unto your experience. We do not live on the mortal plane of consciousness where evil can happen. God is not in the realm or reach of mind or thoughts. You must transcend mind and thought in order to reach God. Any response on a lower plane than pure consciousness is from oneself rather than one's self. And the first self is spelled with a lowercase s, and the second self is spelled with a capital S. Any response on a lower plane than pure consciousness is from oneself, lowercase, ego, rather than oneself, capital S, God consciousness. O students, do not strive or seek for heavenly riches in human consciousness. Wait. Seek a higher level of consciousness. There, the Father's treasures are as free as air. It is a mistake to believe that human desire and prayer will bring God to your side. There must be a rising in consciousness until his presence is attained, and there rest. Here truly is a perennial rest from care, concern, doubt, and fear. Students are often concerned that their own happiness, peace, and harmony are not complete, that they can bring greater good to others than to themselves. This often brings doubts and fears to the student. Doubt that God is still with him. Fear that a sense of separation from God may permanently hold them. These things come only that the student shall never be tempted to glorify himself or take pride in his own understanding. I die hard. It is impossible to maintain a state of consciousness not attained. To assume a state of consciousness not attained is earthly. Consciousness lives itself. You do not live it. Withdraw from personal consciousness as rapidly as possible. Let I die. Even in metaphysics and spiritual practice, the vision has been on more and larger fish in the nets instead of on leaving your nets and following me. There is no such thing as my harmony, my health, or my supply. His peace passeth all understanding. His grace is sufficient. Happiness or unhappiness in human existence, what does it matter? Happiness must be known of the spirit. Human peace or no peace, what does it matter? Peace must be known of the soul. Health of the body or no health, what does it matter? Health must be known of God. Wealth of the purse or no wealth, what does it matter? Wealth must be known of love. In the depths of despair over earthly affairs, this is learned. Find your good in God. I have told you the real secret of life. God is not with mortals. Take it from there. When the spiritual student's house of cards crumbles, he is near to a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Spiritual student, rejoice as the outer building tumbles down, for the inner temple is to be revealed. The mind of the individual seeking help is the Christ mind, awaiting recognition. The man who has his being in Christ finds his capacities and abilities in soul, not in the brain, body, or muscle. Every action of the organs and every function of the body are the activity of the soul, appearing as bodily action. Every skill, every talent, every capacity, and every ability of the mind are really the soul action made visibly tangible. We live in him. In him alone we find our completeness and perfection. Apart from him, we are as trees uprooted from the ground, as waves separate from the sea. Supply cannot be limited, since the soul is its source and infinity. Soul is the substance, nature, action, and the law of all form, and is never separate from the form. Neither circumcision availeth, nor uncircumcision. This is the middle path of the infinite way. Since sinlessness is the opposite of sin, it is not this. Since health is the opposite of disease, this is not it. But this too is the middle path. The crucifixion of the self is accomplished when there is nothing left for which you wish to pray. To those unfolding on the spiritual path come the discordant experiences of human life until the transition from this world has been completely accomplished. The desire is to avoid or escape these inharmonies of mind, body, or economic affairs, but this cannot be done, since the discords result solely from the battle with spirit, and the flesh, that is, with spiritual consciousness and material sense. To those on the way, inharmony in human affairs often is a lack of spiritual awakening, and therefore, when the battle leading to the overcoming of this world is on, the initiate will remain as quiet as possible under the adverse circumstances, endeavoring to refrain from fighting erroneous conditions and, insofar as possible, letting the warfare go on until the moment of transition arrives. When your spiritual study is sincere, the breaking up of your material world, the desertion of friends, students, or family, a change of health or other outer activity, often ushers in the spiritual transition or rebirth. This is the attainment of that which you have sought. A tremendous movement is taking place as the initiate discerns the difference between physical harmony and spiritual wholeness. Retire often into the center of being, my son. Let divine love engulf you. Be at peace in my peace. Here you arrive at the great experience, the understanding and attainment of my peace, my wine, my meat, the infinite, invisible substance, law, and cause. O my child, the blessing that is yours as my peace descends upon you and envelops and sustains you. Now you know the meaning of I will never leave you nor forsake you. Now you know the rest to be found in the Spirit, that which even the harmonies of this world can never give. Peace, peace, be still. Santa Claus God. The reason all desire is sin is that desire is based on the concept of a giving or a withholding God. Also, desire is based on the acceptance of something or someone or someplace other than God. Since God alone is and is omnipresence, prayer, true prayer, is a state of consciousness, a conscious communion in union. I've been in deep grief, so intense that it has torn me to pieces inside, and wondered, why, O Lord, why? In the depth of it, the answer has come. The world's inability to receive and respond to this Christ, the rejection of it by those we expect to possess the gift of vision, the gross ignorance and darkness of the human thought. These bounce back upon me, these rejections and this opacity. Give me grace to rise above my sorrow. The light shines. The word reveals that when the stumbling block is no longer needed, it is removed. You need not move it, change it, or remove it. It is removed when it is no longer needed. Thank you, Father, for love. Truth, as it is usually known or declared, is not truth except in God. When one has attained the realization of life in God, it is true that one is spiritual, divine, and God-governed. Spiritual truth is not true about humanhood, but about spirit and its universe. Humanhood is a state of mesmerism, and only as the illusion breaks is one's life in God. Only in God does one attain the realization of perfection, wholeness, completeness, or oneness. Attainment comes only as one is loosed from all concepts of truth, and this comes only by grace. Divested of all concepts of life, truth, and love, one stands in God. Life beyond the grave has no relationship to immortality. Life beyond the grave is only the survival of personality. This personality dies. It must die, either this side or that side of the grave, in order that immortality may be realized. The immortal self is ever present, even when clothed with personality, but is revealed and lived only in proportion as personality or the human selfhood disappears. As long as there remains concern for personal good, security, health, peace of mind, there is that which must die daily in order that one may be reborn of the Spirit into the realization of immortality here and now. Prayer is not an activity of the human mind. All attempts to contact God through the mind or intellect have failed and always will fail. God can be known only through the soul and the soul faculties. The prayer uttered through the intellect can return fruitage only in proportion to one's belief in that prayer. Faith in an unknown God brings only the harmony of blind belief. God must be known and understood through the soul. To an advanced student, you have reached the place where you know every truth that can be known, understood, or received humanly. Now you must reach higher for the truth that reveals itself through spiritual means, without human means of communication. Why do advanced souls, even practitioners and teachers, still experience ills and other problems? Whatever degree of mortal or material consciousness that still remains in them is expressing itself. There is no unexpressed consciousness, and even a tiny bit of human consciousness remaining will express itself in terms of human good or evil. This is the law. These two remain side by side until, in proportion as spiritual consciousness unfolds, more and more of material sense is uprooted. Even the resurrection brought forth a material sense of body with all the marks of human error. In the ascension, pure spirituality is revealed. On the spiritual way, many come to barren places, the desert, the wilderness, and believe that God has forsaken them. Often it appears as if Christ had forsaken them. Then it is that the spiritual seeker must remember that he has not yet attained that what he believed to be the full realization of truth, the Christ of God, was not the fullness of the Spirit. These wilderness experiences reveal that he must still press on, for when the light is fully come, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Remember that discords and inharmonies are apparent only to human sense. Spiritual vision sees through to reality. Faith does not concern the past or the future. Faith is an activity taking place in the present, now, only now. Faith is an activity of consciousness, just as much so as integrity. Faith is always present in you, even though, like integrity, it may be dormant. The recognition and acknowledgement of the omnipresence of faith as an activity of individual consciousness starts the flow of it into visible and tangible effect. Faith is a quality of God, not of man. But as a quality of God, it is present in all its fullness. Do not expect the power of God to function in the dream, but rather to break the dream. Do not contact God to adjust, change, or heal the dream. The understanding or awareness of God breaks the dream. To know that one has been functioning in the dream is the beginning of awakening. True non-resistance is the ability not to expect God to function in the dream. This does not mean that one lives without God, but rather one finds his life to be eternally in God. To refrain from seeking the help of God is to be functioning in reality. No longer reaching out to God, no longer seeking God's help is to be awakening out of the dream into reality. Whenever there is a sense of needing God, one is functioning in the dream. God is not power in the sense of power over evil, sin, disease, or death. God is not power in any sense involving battle, that is, overcoming or destroying. God is life. God is love. God is. Nothing else is. Only God is. Do not be concerned about your relationships with people. Consciously maintain your relationship with God, and this will take care of everything else. Keep your realization of your relationship with God sacred and secret. This relationship, maintained in silence and secrecy, appears outwardly as harmonious human relationships and experiences. God is the cement between you and your brothers and sisters of the human, animal, vegetable, and mineral families. When thought dwells on person, place, or thing, you are functioning in the dream. When your thoughts unite in spiritual contemplation, every person, place, or thing becomes a spiritual delight. The two great commandments are cosmic law. Thou shalt have no other God or power. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Cast your bread upon the waters. For by strength shall no man prevail. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries. These things we perceive with the five senses are objects of mind, with no relationship to truth. All appearances are sense objects, not of God or truth. All that is objectively witnessed must be understood to be mental images or mind projections, never spiritual reality. The reality underlies the sense formation, but is discerned only by spiritual consciousness. The sense world, human experience, takes place in time and space, and this in itself precludes its being spiritual in nature. The universe of spirit, truth, God is an activity in eternity. Thus understood, neither birth, disease, accident, nor death has ever occurred. In every instance, when presented with the appearance of humanhood, even good human beings or conditions, remember that this is not truth, but a mental image in thought without reality, law, substance, cause, or effect. Then see deeper into consciousness and behold that which is eternity, even in what appears as past, present, or future. If it takes place in time and space, do not accept it at its appearance value, but search deeper in the realm of the soul. The new horizon. The sense which presents pictures of discord and inharmony, disease and death, is the universal hypnotism which produces the entire dream of human existence. It must be understood that there is no more reality to harmonious human existence than to discordant world conditions. It must be realized that the entire human scene is hypnotic suggestion, and we must rise above the desire for even good human conditions. Understand fully that suggestion, belief, or hypnotism is the substance or fabric of the whole mortal universe, and that human conditions of both good and evil are dream pictures having no reality or permanence. Be willing for the harmonious as well as the inharmonious conditions of mortal existence to disappear from your experience in order that reality may be known and enjoyed and lived. Above this sense life, there is a universal spirit governed by love, peopled with children of God living in the household or temple of truth. This world is real and permanent. Its substance is eternal consciousness. In it, there is no awareness of discords or even of temporary and material good. The first glimpse of reality of the soul realm comes with the recognition and realization of the fact that all temporal conditions and experiences are products of self-hypnotism. With the realization that the entire human scene, its good as well as its evil, is illusion, come the first glimpse and taste of the world of God's creation and of the sons of God who inhabit the spiritual kingdom. Now, in this moment of uplifted consciousness, we are able, even though faintly, to see ourselves free of material, mortal, human, and legal laws. We behold ourselves separate and apart from the bondage of sense, and in a measure, we glimpse the unlimited boundaries of eternal life and of infinite consciousness. The fetters of finite existence begin to fall away. The price tags begin to disappear. We no longer dwell in thought on human happiness or prosperity, nor is there any longer concern about health or home. The wider, grander view is coming into focus. The freedom of divine being is becoming apparent. The experience at first is like watching the world disappear over a horizon and drop down from before us. There is no attachment to this world, no desire to hold on to it, probably because to a great extent the experience does not come until a great measure of our desire for the things of this world has been overcome. At first we cannot speak of it. There is a sense of touch me not, for I am not yet ascended. I am still between the two worlds. Do not touch me or make me speak of it, because it may drag me back. Let me be free to rise. Then, when I am completely free of hypnotism and its pictures, I will tell you of many things which eyes have not seen, nor ears heard. A universal illusion binds us to earth, to temporal conditions. Realize this, understand this, because only through this understanding can we begin to lessen its hold upon us. The more fascinated we are with conditions of human good and the greater our desire for even the good things of the flesh, the more intense is the illusion. In proportion as our thought dwells on God, on things of the Spirit, the greater the freedom from limitation we are gaining. Think neither on the discords nor on the harmonies of this world. Let us not fear the evil nor love the good of human existence. In proportion as we accomplish this, is the hypnotic influence lessening in our experience. Earth ties begin to disappear. Shackles of limitation fall away. Erroneous conditions give place to spiritual harmony. Death gives way to eternal life. The first glimpse into the heaven of here and now is the beginning of the ascension for us. This ascension is understood now as a rising above the conditions and experiences of this world. And we behold the many mansions prepared for us in spiritual consciousness, in the awareness of reality. We are not bound by the evidence of the physical senses. We're not limited to the visible supply. We are not circumscribed by visible bonds or bounds. We are not tied by visible concepts of time or space. Our good is flowing from the infinite invisible realm of spirit, soul, to our immediate apprehension. Let us not judge of our good by any so-called sensible evidence. Out of the tremendous resources of our soul comes the instant awareness of all that we can utilize for abundant living. No good thing is withheld from us as we look above the physical evidence to the great invisible. Look up, look up. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. I am breaking the sense of limitation for you as an evidence of my presence and of my influence in your experience. I, the I of you, am in the midst of you, revealing the harmony and infinity of spiritual existence. I, the I of you, never a personal sense of I, never a person, but the I of you am ever with you. Look up. The New Jerusalem. The former things have passed away, and all things are become new. Whereas I was blind, now I see, and not through a glass darkly, but face to face. Yes, even in my flesh I have seen God. The hills have rolled away, and there is no more horizon, but the light of heaven makes all things plain. Long have I sought thee, O Jerusalem, but only now have my pilgrim feet touched the soil of heaven. The waste places are no more. Fertile lands are before me, the like of which I have never dreamed. Oh, truly, there shall be no night there. The glory of it shines as the noonday sun, and there is no need of light, for God is the light thereof. I sit down to rest. In the shade of the trees I rest and find my peace in thee. Within thy grace is peace, O Lord. In the world I was weary. In thee I have found rest. In the depths forest of words I was lost. In the letter of truth was tiredness and fear. But in thy spirit only are shade and water and rest. How far have I wandered from thy spirit, O tender one and true? How far, how far, how deeply lost in the maze of words, words, words. But now I am returned, and in thy spirit shall I ever find my life, my peace, my strength. Thy spirit is the bread of life, finding which I shall never hunger. Thy spirit is a wellspring of water, and drinking it I shall never thirst. As a weary wanderer, I have sought thee, and now my weariness is gone. Thy spirit has formed a tent for me, and in its cool shade I linger, and peace fills my soul. Thy presence has filled me with peace. Thy love has placed before me a feast of spirit. Yea, thy spirit is my resting place, an oasis in the desert of the letter of truth. In thee will I hide from the noise of the world of argument. In thy consciousness find surcease from the noisomeness of men's tongues. They divide thy garment, O Lord of peace. They quarrel over thy word. Yea, until it becomes words and no longer the word. As a beggar have I sought the new heaven and the new earth, and thou hast made me heir of all. How shall I stand before thee but in silence? How shall I honor thee but in the meditation of my heart? Praise and thanksgiving thou seekest not, but the understanding heart thou receivest. I will keep silent before thee. My soul and my spirit and my silence shall be thy dwelling place. Thy spirit shall fill my meditation, and it shall make me and preserve me whole. O thou tender one and true, I am home in thee. And that is the end of our book, The End of the Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith. And we'll be wrapping up our show today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And remember, if you missed parts 1 and 2 of The Infinite Way, you can find recordings of this on the radio station's Facebook page, my Facebook page, which is Ray Bratcher, and also Sacred Breath. I also have a Children of the Sun playlist on my YouTube channel, which is Ray Bratcher. It has the YouTube came up with this handle thing, made everybody do it. So mine is at Breathe Only Love, with the lowercase hyphen between each of the words. So by the time you explain how to find it, most people have already Googled it. I'm not really sure what the whole point of that handle @ thing was, but anyway, there it is. You can find me on Facebook, Ray Bratcher YouTube, Breathe Only Love at Breathe Only Love on YouTube, Sacred Breath on Facebook, Ray Bratcher Facebook, WSTX AM 970, The Soul of the Caribbean on Facebook, and all the podcasts, Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, Google, Castbox. So you can find parts 1 and parts 2 in case you missed them and want to catch up. Part 3 is available right now on Facebook. It'll be up sometime this weekend, every place else. I'm also doing something a little different. As some of you know, I've been on a pretty intense spiritual path for actually really more than 60 years. And there's some things that I've come to know that I want to share before I die. So I'm making the people are stressed out these days, and people are rushed and pushed, and they don't have time. So I'm trying to speak to the people where they are. So I'm making very short audio recordings, usually under 20 minutes. To share some of what I've gleaned from this long, intense spiritual path before I die. So that's on YouTube. I've made a playlist called Awakening Shorts, so it's easy to find. I've got them all there. So far, there's 4, I think, and I hope that these are not like typical things that anybody could tell you. These are things that it took me some long, intense work to come to an awareness of. Some of it is foundational stuff because we can't go to the top of the skyscraper without making sure everybody understands about the first floor. But I'm minimizing that. I'm assuming for the most part, if you're listening to Children of the Sun, if you're following me on YouTube, you're ready. You're ready. So I kind of have to give lip service to the foundational stuff because you never know. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can drop by your YouTube channel. But for example, like we just read The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith, and you could tell occasionally he was giving foundational stuff, but for the most part, he was assuming rather a lot in terms of mystical wisdom on the part of his readers and listeners. And I think that's a safe assumption. A lot of this infinite way is, I'm assuming you already have that. That's the foundation. And then we go further with the YouTubes. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I know it's been rainy. If you can, get outside, get out into nature. Nature is healing. Love you all. See you next Friday, 12:30 Atlantic Standard Time on WSTX AM 970, the soul of the Caribbean, FM 100.3, your source for the best music. All right, that's it. We are out of here. Thank you so much. Love you all.